Guys, how we doing?
Hey, James. Good. Questions?
James, I haven't seen Quentin Martin involved in the game yet. Is that an opportunity for him to do that this Saturday? Do you expect him to?
Yeah, he was, for week one, he was banged up. So that's why he was not available. But yeah, we expect and anticipate. He's been part of that battle. There's 3 guys battling for that number 3 job. He's part of it, but wasn't part of the battle for a period of time there because of bumps and bruises.
James, in that RB3 battle, if no one really truly separates, are you content with having a rotation, or do you want someone to be an official RB3?
Yeah, you'd like for somebody to take the job, right? But if not, we'll keep rotating until somebody does.
James, you and Ryan Day had similar things to say about the transfer portal window proposal. How much coordination is there among Big Ten coaches on those sorts of issues, and is it more than maybe it used to be?
Yeah, I think there's a decent amount of, I don't know if I would describe it as coordination, but when we go to Big Ten meetings, we have discussions about this. As you know, I really don't want to talk about a whole lot other than Villanova, but I get the question. I think it really just comes down to that he feels, and I think most of the coaches in the Big Ten feel, that you don't want to be playing a season and dealing with the transfer portal at the same time. I think there's some other conferences that probably wouldn't disagree with that, but it's hard to find a spot in the calendar that makes sense for everybody based on all the different academic calendars. But I don't think anybody thinks it's a good idea to have it during the season, right? So I gave you a little bit, but I'd prefer to just talk about Villanova.
Thanks.
Hey, James, you mentioned odd fronts with FIU. Villanova comes in with an odd front as well. Given, as you mentioned, those kind of multiple defenses are becoming more popular now, how important has it been to get work for your run game against those looks for the last couple weeks?
Yeah, and this is more of this is different than like odd. This is 3-3 stack. They are constantly moving, spiking, slanting, twisting, and it's smart, right? Like a lot of times it's hard to get defensive linemen. So when you can go to this system and then just create chaos and get guys running free, that helps. The other thing it does is if you don't approach it the right way, it slows down the offensive line because they're worried about all the movement, so then they're tentative, so now they don't come off the ball the way you want them to come off the ball. So there's a method to their madness, and it creates some challenges, but that's also where we've been working odd front all the way from the summer. It's harder when you don't see it at practice every single day. That's the challenge. But we didn't wait till this week to start working on it. But it is challenging. It's, I kind of look at it a little bit. It's like facing the wishbone if you don't see it all year long. And there's some differences. There's ways to get them out of the stack and into an odd front. So a lot of times people will do that to try to calm it down a little bit. But they do a nice job, and they've been running this system for a while and have had success with it, so they've stayed with it and promoted from within. But it definitely caused us some challenge. It caused us some challenges the last time we played.
James, were you satisfied with, or are you guys still kind of working through the communication on the defense with the headset? Because it looked like a couple times, again, it could have just been the way it looked Saturday. Was it okay, or were guys having trouble hearing?
Yeah, no, it's a challenge, and every year this is a little bit of a challenge, and then you also have different styles, right? The different coaches have different styles in the way they do it, and then sometimes you got technology issues, and you can signal, but we know what that leads to, right? So yeah, there's been some challenges with it. I think the other thing is, we spend a ton of time working on it on offense, and we got to make sure we're working on it enough on defense, because at home, that's where we're really going to deal with it. So no, there's been times where it's been challenging. Sometimes we've had some technology issues. Sometimes we're not clear enough, and sometimes the tempo of the offense, can make some things challenging too. So yeah, that's fair.
How important is it then to have another game at home here to kind of clean up some of these things?
Yeah, it's important. We got to do it in practice, but it's important to get these things cleaned up in games as well. it's one of the notes that I've written down, and I brought it up on Sunday as well. We need to work more on defense in practice with crowd noise, and the hard part is, now that limits coaching, right? Because we got some obviously tweaks to our system now with Jim, and we're trying to coach. Well, it's hard to coach when we're blowing their eardrums out. So it's a fine line between those two things.
James, with Tyseer Denmark, we've heard from Marcus and then Devontae Ross about his enthusiasm that he has and the way he's approaching things. What does that mean to have a young player, have that kind of mindset, even if he's not playing a lot on Saturdays and is still, I guess, working through things early in his career?
Yeah, he loves ball. He's got a toughness to him that I think is really important at the wide receiver position. He's got really confident, strong hands, and he's preparing and going about it the right way with the right energy, to your point. So, I think we have a lot of confidence when we need to put him in the game and when he gets his opportunity. I think he's going to be ready. So he's approaching it the right way. He's controlling the things he can control. And a big part of it is attitude, because a lot of these guys, if they're not getting the time and reps that they feel like they've earned, and you could make that argument, then sometimes they get frustrated, they get in the tank, and then they got bad body language and everything else. And then all of a sudden they get in the game, and that's what shows up, right? So he's handling it well right now. And, at some point this year we're going to need him, and I think he'll be ready.
James, you mentioned the past that Kobe Howard kind of needs to show some progression on special teams to see the field. How is he coming along in that regard, and is he close to breaking into the rotation?
Yeah, so him and Tyseer are kind of in a very, very similar situation, right? The difference is if Kobe plays under the current rules, we have to be careful because he'll burn his shirt. And he does some really good things on offense. He's not factoring in a whole lot yet on special teams. So we just want to make sure once we decide to play him that, like right now, he wants to play. But at the end of the year, a lot of times these guys get to the end of the year, they're like, if I knew I was only going to play this much, I wouldn't have. So, we take it a little bit more conservative in that way. And he has to watch himself, because where Tyseer's in year 2 and a little bit more mature, Kobe's a little frustrated by it, right, as a younger player, which is understandable. But there's some other areas, like we talked about with special teams, where he can help himself.
James, when TJ Shanahan got here in the offseason, some of the feedback that we got from, I think, Chuck, was that his body composition needed to be redone a little bit. How did you see him attack that during the offseason and put himself in this position now where we've seen him factor in on Saturdays?
Yeah, he's a guy that's got a really bright future. Football's very, very important to him, and he works at it. It's interesting, and, not talking about any specific programs, but it's just interesting. I got a lot of respect for our strength program and how we go about our business. Sometimes we get guys from other schools, and they're lacking in some areas, and we can make a difference in a short period of time. And that's talking about all the transfers, not TJ. Some guys come in from programs and they're in really good shape, and other guys, it seems like they haven't done a whole lot, based on the previous school. And he's a guy that has worked his tail off and is in a really good position, and football's really important to him. He's well liked by the guys, and he's got a nasty disposition on the field. So you can't have enough of guys like him. So I think he's got a really bright future. He'll continue to play for us this year, and again, I think he's got a bright future.
Two more guys.
Your corners haven't really been tested much downfield this year. Is that a concern for you, given you want to work on things here in this part of the season, and then how have they been when they have been in situations like in run defense or things like that where they've been asked to make plays?
Yeah, I don't really get concerned about things that I have no control over. I can't control that they are not throwing the ball at our corners very often and testing those guys. We do it in practice as much as we possibly can, good on good, as well as our D squad stuff. I know they would like some more opportunities. I think they've been really good in the run game. I know Jim has been very complimentary of Terry and that unit and how physical they are. But they gotta be careful, because what happens is sometimes then you start trying to make plays, and then that's when you give up big plays. So they just gotta be patient, and the time will come and they'll be able to maximize it.
James Villanova.
Last year, you ended up changing who called the plays for defense with Dan doing that. Is that anything that's under consideration, or is Jim's end of it holding up and that's not really a factor?
No, that's not a factor. We haven't discussed that at all. Last year it was a different scenario on why we made that change. That hasn't been discussed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
Wait, one more, because you were asking at the same time.
Yeah, Villanova.
Only if this is a good question. Then I'll never do
Villanova's
so.
not a great tackling team, especially in the defensive back position. How do you plan to?
They're what?
They're not a great tackling team, especially at the defensive back position. How do you?
And what are you basing that off? Your opinion, PFF? Like, where's that coming from?
From watching film.
Okay.
And so, how do you plan to exploit that, especially in the passing game?
Yeah, I'm not really going to necessarily say anything in this press conference that's going to disrespect our opponent. We got a ton of respect for Villanova, how they play, how competitive they've been year in and year out. They got a veteran coaching staff that's done a great job. They came in last time and gave us fits. But yeah, for us, we're always trying to put defenders in conflict, trying to put defenders in one-on-one situations where they got to tackle our ball carriers. But we got a ton of respect for Villanova, their defense, and I'm not going to. Yeah, no thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.